Howdy, howdy. Welcome to another video. It's been about a week since I put up a video. I've been real busy with my job and I am neck deep in another project that I'm gonna do, and it has to do with this channel and the things I'm doing on here, and I'm so excited about it. I wish I could tell you all about it, but just know I'm not getting lazy with this. I'm getting deeper and deeper into this because I enjoy it so much. I'm having a ton of fun working on this new project, and it's going to be great. And I should maybe be able to announce it in the next 30 to 45 days. It's a lot of work, a lot of internet work to get it set up. But that's what I've been doing, and I'm just loving it. I wake up early and anyway, let's get to some Bigfoot story. This is going to be, I'm going to share with you a story right now that I got from John about 2 weeks ago, and then we're going to listen to an interview with him that I did this past week, and he's going to explain everything that goes on and some other encounters that he's had. So this is going to be pretty good. So here's his email that got me interested in giving him a call. I had a hair-raising encounter this past Saturday. I was getting out of my truck and I was backing my ATV off the trailer. I heard a deep tone roar that echoed through the woods for about 5 minutes. I was on my way in that direction anyway, but it made me stop and think if I wanted to possibly die that day because those sounds were so loud and coming from such a great distance that I knew it couldn't be anything that I've ever encountered in the woods. Nothing has lungs that powerful. But I didn't want to waste the day, and I needed to pick up a trail cam that I had set out over in that direction. I got my nerve up to make my way over there. It was only 2 miles, but it took me 45 minutes to get there because I kept stopping and turning off the engine and listening. The good thing is that I didn't hear that sound again, but once I crossed the creek, I felt like something was watching me. I went further and came up on something that really bothered me. 2 large trees were snapped off about 8 feet up and laid across the trail like a gate. I had come this way the previous Wednesday and those trees were fine, or at least they weren't laying across my trail. I immediately took this as a warning, but I went ahead and I got to the camera with my head on a swivel the rest of the way there. Recently, I had lost a glove in that area, and for some reason it occurred to me that this thing had found it, and it had my scent, and it knew that I was there, like it was zeroed in on me from the time I slammed my truck door when I arrived. I made it fine back to the truck, and I left. I will be showing the property owner these trees the first chance I get, and let's see what he thinks. The trees were definitely broken off. No one climbs up a tree 8 feet and pulls them down willy-nilly like that. There's more to the story, and I'll be glad to tell you about it if we can talk. I've also texted you a video, but the sound is not great. It does not do the roar that I heard that day justice. But trust me, it was an unnerving incident. After I show the owner of these trees, I don't believe I'm going to be going back on that side of the creek again. All right, so there's the story that prompted me to call this man and find out what the whole story is, and here's some other encounters he's had. I got to know him a little bit. I think you're really going to like him. So get ready for a great interview. All right, here we go. Hey everybody, that story I just read, that spooky story I just read, I've actually got the man on the line who sent me the story, and I've been able to talk to him over the last week. He actually has a YouTube channel where he gives a lot of good advice on hunting, bow hunting. He's a good bow hunter. John is a businessman. John's a pastor. He's a great, very accomplished bow hunter, turkey hunter. He's hunted in Africa, big game in Africa. He's got his own website where he's got hunting products for sale. I'd just like to introduce you to John. John's going to tell us a couple of stories of things that happened to him. John, how are you?
Good. How you doing, young man?
Doing great. Thanks for doing this today. Now, you sent me a video. You actually texted it to me, and I bet the sound on it's kind of tough. It's kind of hard to hear, but it's clear. It's just real low. John, tell us the story behind that thing, man. That is some scary noises coming out of those woods.
Cameron, let me start from the beginning before the video.
Okay.
This was on Wednesday, before that Saturday. I went turkey hunting across the creek, and I found a new spot that I really liked. I got set up on that spot and was calling, so I sat there for a while and nothing. So I decided to get on the ATV and just head back across the creek. But as I got up towards the trail to make a left, I just stopped, cut it off, and just was listening for turkeys. And I walked probably about a whole mile, just listening, stopping, listening, doing a little calling, nothing. But in the distance, I heard like a scream, and I'm thinking, what is that? Because I've been in the woods for, ever since, I guess I was like 10 years old. I've been going in the woods and been bow hunting for 36 years. So once you get in the woods, or should I say, once you be in the woods that long, you pretty much heard everything. So I'm listening to this. It's like a distant scream. And I heard it about 7 different times, and then I just brushed it off and got back on the ATV after I stopped checking for turkeys on that particular side, and I just went back across the creek to where I normally hunt at. And I didn't think anything else of it. So getting to this video that I sent you, I actually coming up to my spot, to my parking spot, and I just stopped the truck, turned it off, got off, pushed the ATV off. As soon as I walked back towards the truck, I just heard something roar. I'm just imagining it may have been a mile and a half away. So I'm thinking, okay, that's not normal, because I've heard bobcats, I've heard cougars, I've heard bears. I even heard lions on National Geographic, but I know that wasn't a lion. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things, but to me, it just sounds like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what in the world? Because you just can hear the echo from every time that this thing do that. And I'm thinking, okay, is this my imagination? And then it happens again. And then all of a sudden my heart started beating, because I have to go back over across the creek because I wanted to check my camera, and I was going to hunt over there that day. I'm thinking, oh man, whatever this is, it really messed my hunt up. So I'm just pulling out my phone. I said, I got to video this, because I didn't have a voice recorder set up on my iPhone. So I got to video this. At least I could pick up something. Hopefully I could pick up some type of sound. And I recorded it for like 2 minutes, and then I just cut it off, and it kept doing that. It kept roaring after I cut the phone off, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So I'm standing there in the road, terrified, because my wife, she'll tell me all the time, nothing scares you. I'm like, well, not really, just scorpions and lions. But I'm thinking, this thing has me terrified, because the lungs that it had, I'm thinking, I have never heard anything with lungs that powerful, because it just echoed through the woods. And I'm thinking, if I play this video for somebody, they won't be able to understand the power or hear the power that actually came out of this thing's lungs, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot. I'm not saying it was, because I didn't see it, but it was something out of the ordinary. That's for sure. So after I turned my phone off, I just jumped on the ATV and I drove up the road, up the driveway, went past the house, started down the dirt road, and I just cut it off. Every 50 feet, I would cut my ATV off and listen. Didn't hear anything, so I turned it back on and go another 50 feet. And I'm thinking, John, are you nuts? You going back here to just got your turkey gun and nothing else? Although at least I had something, but I'm thinking, you going back here across the creek where you hear the sound coming from? Are you nuts? So I kept on going, stop, turn it, listen, start the ATV back up, ride another 50 feet, stop. And I'm thinking, John, just turn around and go back. Just go back to the truck. So I got my nerve up and I kept going. So I finally got across the creek. When I had to go another 500 yards at least to get to that particular bend, and then another 800 yards to get to my camera. So I finally made that left to where that area is where the sound came from. Then I made the right bend, which is that bend goes straight towards where my camera is. But as soon as I made that right, there were two trees broke off about 8 feet high across them, and they were actually laying across the road, and they were directly across from each other. And I'm thinking, okay, alert. I mean, you talking about my antenna just went up and the hair on my neck stood up.
Yeah.
I've heard so many people talk about that these Bigfoot, they break trees off high off the ground. And I'm thinking, this is just classic Bigfoot tree cracking or whatever, tree breaking. And I'm thinking, these are directly across from each other, and they're like laying down in the road like a roadblock. And I'm thinking, okay, to me, it looks like a warning sign. And like I said, I don't go around looking for Bigfoot sign. I don't try to study him at all or whatever the case may be. But I've heard of people saying that they break trees high off the ground. And I'm thinking, who would go into the woods with a chainsaw and with a ladder and get up 8 feet or around about 8 feet? Because it did look about 8 feet. Because I'm 5'8", but I'm guesstimating it looked like it was about 8 feet. I'm gonna go back Wednesday, and I'm gonna take a picture of them trees, and then I'll send them to you as well. So I'm looking at them, and I'm just standing. I'm sitting on my ATV in front of these trees, and the hair on my neck is just standing up, and I probably could stab somebody with my hair. It was so stiff, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just scared now because that right there put the icing on the cake. That something definitely wasn't right, because Wednesday when I left there, those trees wasn't there, and I'm thinking, okay, getting back to my truck, I'm gonna backtrack just for a minute. It seemed like as soon as I stepped out of that truck and pulled my ATV off the trailer, that's when he roared. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I lost my glove on Wednesday over there. And I heard something scream over there Wednesday, and I'm thinking, okay, if this thing, or if it was a Bigfoot, if he got a hold of my glove, he know what I smell like. So he's pretty much saying, this is an intruder, so I'm going to break these trees across this road and say, hey, don't you come over here no more, a warning. Then once I get back to the tree thing, I got my nerve up, and I drove across the trees on my ATV, because the top parts, they were actually, I guess, a little under waist high. So I just climbed over top of them with my four-wheeler and kept going. Finally made it to my camera, got my camera, put it back in the ATV, and went back. But you talking about, my head was on a swivel. Because I said to myself, John, you're crazy for coming over here after you heard that sound.
Yeah. Because
my wife told me, she said, if you heard something like that, you should have just got back in the truck, came on. That's what she said. So, yeah, a friend of mine told me that this morning. But I'm going to tell you, I really have never heard, I got something else I wanted to add. I have never heard something so powerful in the woods ever. And if it was close to me, I probably would have fainted or something, because whatever made that sound, it could just probably make you have a heart attack or something, because it's just something so unnatural. It's almost like having an earthquake occurring or something. It was just crazy. Yeah. So I kind of shook it off, and I said, you know what, I'm going to hunt. I done drove an hour and 45 minutes. I'm just going to hunt. So I found another spot that I had scouted for on Wednesday. I said, I'm going to hunt this spot. That spot was closer to my truck. I said, I'm not going across the creek. So I got set up on this spot, and about 12 o'clock, I heard that thing roar again. And it was to my left, but it was way off at a distance. And I'm thinking, okay, to me, that kind of rules out a movie, because, I mean, I'm just speculating. It had to have been something, because it was further over. It was up towards the house, but it was maybe like 4 or 5 miles away to my left. And it did the same exact thing. I'm thinking, okay, is this thing stalking me or something? Because I'm up by the house, and it's to my left now. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sit here till 1 o'clock, then I'm leaving. But I will never, and I am a Bigfoot believer, because I'm thinking, when I go outside and I look up, Cameron, and I see all of those stars are planets. God had to create something else in this universe other than us.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. I was going to tell you the other day, I had a pastor one time, and I asked him, what do you think about extraterrestrial beings. He goes, look, who's to say God doesn't have another 100 creations or 1,000 creations all over the universe that he's doing in different ways? I mean, we were created by a very creative God. And
exactly.
there's no reason why there couldn't be other things, even on this planet, that we don't really know about and may never know about. But we did talk about that you're pretty sure they exist. And I'm wondering if how long had you hunted this area before? Have you already told me that? How long had you hunted this area before this occurred? Years?
I've hunted that area. Let's see. I've hunted that area since '96.
And when did this occur?
This occurred Saturday. But let me just say it occurred Wednesday. And then Saturday, it's almost like, okay, this is my territory. I'm moving in a little closer. And whatever the case may be, breaking trees, saying, hey, don't come over here no more. And I'm thinking, okay, you don't have to tell me twice. So.
Well, I agree with you. Something's moved in. And do you think there's a chance, are there any exotic animal farms around there anywhere, or?
I was getting ready to say that. I believe this happened last year or the year before. A gentleman had started a pig and chicken farm right on the road, right near the owner's property. And when this thing yelled, I'm not saying he was right there in that vicinity, but he wasn't too far away from those chickens and pigs. And I said to myself, you know what? If that's the case, that's the reason why this thing or things is coming over here to steal these chickens and pigs. Because before they were there, it's never happened. I mean, this never happened. I mean, not saying that it wasn't there. They may have been there because I've heard it was so elusive. They could be looking right at you. You don't even know it. Yeah. But I really believe that's the reason why I'm just going to say something was drawn to that area, because this guy he has a lot of pigs and chickens there now. And I want to go up there and ask him, has he haven't had any pigs or chickens stolen or had any weird activity around his farm? But they say he's real. You got to go up there with a double barrel shotgun if you need to go talk to him.
Oh, he's that kind of guy, huh?
Yeah, that's what I heard. So I haven't been. I might get up the nerve and just walk up there one day and just introduce myself and just ask him some questions. But I don't know.
Oh man, but okay, so that might explain why something's moved in, but there's no lion farms or tiger farms or anything like that around there. People keep those exotic animals in the United States, in every state. Somebody got
right.
No other kind of animal that would make that noise.
No, but I did hear of a farm that had lions and tigers down South Georgia. But that particular sound there, it did not sound like a lion. It didn't sound like a tiger. It didn't sound like a big cat.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have heard it. You're in Central Georgia, right?
Yes.
You wouldn't have heard it way down there.
Oh, no.
Sometimes I heard a guy told me one time, he said, I kept hearing these noises at this lease. He had leased a farm and he was hunting it, but he wasn't familiar with the area. He lived in a city and he was driving into, I think it was here in North Mississippi, and he kept hearing roaring, and like he said, it sounds like a lion. You know how a lion will roar? They'll do that.
Right. First thing in the morning.
Yeah. And he said, I think it's a lion loose in these. And then later he found out this guy had an exotic farm. And sometimes I think that's what people hear, but I know there's a lot of those exotic animal farms around, but there's not that many. There's just not that many. So you think, you're speculating this thing could have moved in, and up until now, you haven't really dealt with anything. Have you talked to anybody since this occurred, since you got this recording, and have they heard anything or seen anything?
No, I haven't, but I did warn the owner, and I told him, I said, look, there's something back there. I said, it terrified me. And he said, thanks for telling me. I'm going to look for it. I said, man, I don't recommend you going back there. I said, when you go back there, I'll go with you. But I don't recommend you going back there by yourself, because he doesn't hear good. And I've heard him things, whatever it is, they can sneak up on you and surprise you. So I told him, I said, I recommend you wait till I get there and I'll go over there with you because he wants to investigate tree breaks. But that right there, those tree breaks, Cameron, really got me thinking. But if the tree breaks wasn't there, I probably would shun it off just a little bit. But that's what really let me know that something did that.
Kind of confirmed it for you, didn't it?
Exactly. Mainly for them to be directly across from each other and about the same height in the breaking. And I'm thinking, okay, something did this. Man didn't do this. Something else did this that was tall and strong. Had to be, because it was just too evident.
It's almost like they laid a gate across there, and it's like, don't come up in here.
Exactly. And I was dumb enough to go across and ride right across the trees myself. I just had to get my camera. I mean, foolishly, but I had to get my camera.
Well, I think a lot of people would do that. I think I would. Now, what are your plans now? I'm assuming you're leasing, or do you just have permission to hunt?
Well, I actually, it's like a win-win because we have a heating and air conditioning company as well. So I basically trade for services, fixes units, whatever he needs done. He needs to use my ATV. He needs me to do anything while I'm there. I do it, and he don't charge me. So I just have the whole lease for turkeys. I can deer hunt there because I used to deer hunt there with the older gentleman. We had the club there, but I just choose not to because I hunt elsewhere.
So what are your plans on the upcoming year? Turkey season's about over. At least it is here. What are you going to do Are you going to keep hunting it? What are you going to do?
Well, I do have another prospect that I'm looking at. A friend of mine, they have some acres closer to home because I'm really trying to find a turkey lease closer to my house versus going an hour and 45 minutes one way. I may try it again because you know how you're scared, but you're still curious. I just, if I see this thing, I really want to see this thing if it is one, but I don't want to see him up close. I'd rather for him to say, hey, I'm 150 yards away. Here I am. And that's it. If I see him, then I say, okay, that's him. I'm definitely not coming over here no more. Or if I see a big old track, if I see a big track, and it may be a big track underneath them trees that got pushed in the road, maybe. I don't know because I think it was hard dirt at that particular spot. I can't remember.
Now that episode that you had with the pigs, now this was another time. Is this the same area?
No.
Okay. Tell us that story, John.
Okay. I was in, below Macon, going towards, where's that place? I can't think of the name of the place. Dublin? I think Dublin, going towards Dublin. I think that's what it is. And I was just hunting there, and gentleman allowed me to pig hunt there. So I got settled in the stand and parked the truck, got settled in the stand, and waited till some pigs came out. So I had my night vision scope on my AR. So I'm sitting there around about 7:30, 7:45. Two of them come out. So I pick one and take one and get down, take it. No, I didn't have a four-wheeler. I left it home. So I walked back to the truck. It's about a 400-yard walk. So it was like 8:30 at night. So I walked up to the truck, got in. He was telling me about this spot that they drive through, but he didn't tell me it was like 3 feet deep. So he said, okay, if you're going through it, you got to gun it. And I'm thinking, you got to gun it? So I just put it in four-wheel drive, and I just gunned it just a little bit. I mean, I didn't floor it, and I got stuck. So I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm stuck here. So I called him up, said, hey, man, can you come and get me? Oh, I can't come. So I'm thinking, but I can call somebody that's local, and hopefully they can come and help you. So I'm thinking, oh, man. So one guy came, he couldn't help me. Another guy came, he finally ended up helping me. But in between 8:45, 8:50 till 9:40, I'm sitting there in the dark, in the truck, I did everything trying to get the truck out. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I hear something whistle. And I'm thinking, it's pitch black out here. It whistled about 6 or 7 times. And I'm thinking, and it felt like something was watching me. And I know some people, they say, if you ever actually encountered a real loud scream from Bigfoot, you've seen Bigfoot or anything, you just have a phobia at night. And that's true to a point. So I'm thinking, okay, what is out here whistling? I heard the frogs croak, and everything that was normal to crickets, but I'm thinking it whistled like a man, a real high pitched whistle. And I'm thinking, I've heard people say that Bigfoot whistles. And I'm saying to myself, well, what do they want from me? Why are they bothering me? Everywhere I go, it's like I find one, or they find me.
Yep.
And I got out of the truck and I heard it again. And I'm looking, I'm turning my night vision scope on, and I'm scanning the area looking for eye shine or something. I don't see nothing. And I'm thinking pitch black, and only way I could see if I turn my headlights on, or if I looked in my night vision scope, I could see. But I'm thinking I don't want nothing to be within 5 feet of me, and I just turn around and there it is. So that's pretty much it on that.
So you feel like that's a possibility of what it could have been. Nothing else whistles like that you've heard of. No, I mean, not just, Shaquille O'Neal, some big dude that whistles strong and loud. Basically, you're an accomplished hunter. I mean, it sounds like during the season you're gone every weekend. You're in the woods a lot. All of a sudden, this stuff starts happening. Yeah. I mean, don't you think that's? I've told people 100 times I'd love to just see something, some kind of sign, hear something, whatever. I think I would be as surprised as you are, but it's really got you thinking, doesn't it? Oh man, it got my wheels are spinning like probably 100, 200 miles an hour. But like I said, what really got my attention is those trees being broke across the road. And I looked at the trees. I didn't walk up to them directly to the break itself, but I actually scanned them with my eyes. And I'm thinking, chainsaw didn't do that. That was a break, because you know the difference between a chainsaw and a break. Oh yeah, it should be pretty obvious wherever the break is. Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, some guy's not going to reach up 8 feet or 9 feet or whatever and break them off like that. A guy's not going to do that. Those tree breaks had a big impact on you, didn't they? Oh man, I will never ever forget that, because, like I said, I put 2 and 2 together. That's something. I heard people talk about dog men, all kinds of strange, what you call those things, those night walkers, whatever you call them. Yeah, skinwalkers. I've heard people talk skinwalkers. I've heard people talk about all that kind of stuff, but like I said, whatever this thing was, Cameron, his lungs were there's like 10 men in one, roaring. I wish I had a what you call those, a microphone system where you can really get every detail from that roar. Some people have so many sophisticated things that to actually go in and record things like that, but I wasn't prepared for nothing like that. Hey, I know some guys that would come down there and camp out for a week and confirm it, or I bet they would. They really would. I mean, all I'd have to do is call them and tell them, look, we've got pretty good evidence that something's going on here. I could play them the video that we just played and that you sent me. And that thing just keeps on screaming. It's not like he hollers out 2 or 3 times. It's like this long series of calls, and it sounds angry to me. That's what it sounded like to me. And it almost like, it was almost like he knew I was there. Because if they have some type of telepathy, I've heard people say they can read your minds and all this type of things, and they can disappear and reappear. I was like, well, I hope you don't disappear and reappear in front of my truck. So I just felt like, that's when I put my glove in the equation. I'm thinking, okay, if this thing was back there in that area, he found my glove, he sniffed my glove and knew I was human or whatever. It was weird on how he just started roaring as soon as I got out of the truck. Like, okay, I know where you are. I know you're there. So I'm going to let you know, don't you come over here, because I'm ticked off. I'm upset. So you're going to go back, though. Did you say you're going to go back and snap a picture of those tree breaks and send them to me? I am, but the owner, I don't know if he cleared them yet, but I am going to go back there Wednesday, because I'm going to Nebraska Friday to turkey hunt. So when I get back, I'm going to go down there Wednesday and talk to him, and we're going to hopefully he can go across there with me. And if he didn't move them, I'll take some pictures and I'll send them to you. Yeah, if John sends those to me, I'll put them up on my Facebook page for everyone to look at. So We'll do it that way. Well, John, those are interesting stories. Now, we talked earlier this week, and I asked you a question, and I don't know if you've had time to think about this or even if you have an opinion, but I ask you as a pastor, a man who studied the Bible, we get a lot of comments on these videos about, I would say probably 10 or 15% of the people who follow this topic believe that Bigfoot is a biblical, something that was talked about in the book of Genesis. A lot of people say it's the Nephilim, which I think are the, quote, giants who walk the earth. And I don't know much about that at all. Have you had time to even consider that? I know this is all recent stuff and all, but do you have any opinions on any of that?
Yes, I do. I don't believe, let's see, if you pull up Genesis, where is it? If you pull up Genesis 6, it says that the Nephilims were on the earth in those days and afterwards. And it said during that time, sons of the true God, that means those are fallen angels, continue to have relations with the daughters of men. Okay, so these bore sons to them, and they were mighty ones of old times and men of fame. So basically what they're saying is the Nephilim really is the offspring of a fallen angel and a human female. That's what the Bible's saying of what a Nephilim is.
So you wouldn't necessarily equate a Bigfoot to that, would you then?
No, I wouldn't. But this is my theory, and some people may want to get me committed. I don't know, but my theory is a Bigfoot has been brought here from somewhere else, because I've heard of people saying every time they see a Bigfoot, they will see strange lights near him or near them. I just think they were brought here from somewhere else.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from real smart people. I mean, people that you would not think would say those things, and they do. Ron Moorhead is one guy who says that. I don't know if you're familiar with him, and I don't think he followed that line of thinking for a long time until recently. And I don't know Ron, and I've never talked to him, but I've heard him on interviews where he started talking about that stuff, and that's interesting to me. It's I'll tell you what. I don't throw any of that stuff to the wind. I think it's all possible. I've said 100 times I think it's a flesh and blood animal, but it could have been brought here by something, some other, I don't know, extraterrestrial, and still be flesh and blood.
Yes, I believe that's what happened. I believe that they have all types of UFOs. And matter of fact, my brother, you need to talk to him. He's had an encounter with a UFO when he was living in Maryland, and the UFO actually had stopped his car. His car cut off. He told me about it. He said he hadn't told nobody else but me. So you might need to talk to him about that.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's something. It's really something. And I just think like I said, when I go outside, I take my telescope and I look up, and I'm thinking all of these stars. People think, these stars are pretty. But these aren't stars, they're planets. And I'm not saying that all of them are inhabited, because I'm sure they're not. But if you look up and see all of them, well, not all of them, but a lot of them, especially on a clear night, something else has to live there. So I'm thinking, okay, if you have UFOs, and they call them people the Greys, different type of species of aliens. I don't follow them or try to study them, but I've heard about the Greys, and they have some that's aggressive and some that's helpful. They even talk about, I think it was Eisenhower, when he was talking to some guy from Venus or something back in when he was in office, and he was helping them. That's why they have a lot of great technology at Area 51 and just different things like that. But I'm thinking, okay, if an alien craft say, okay, I want to take over this planet, or these hairy Bigfoots, they're a nuisance, or because they might be like dogs on one planet or something. And I said, okay, we need to downsize. So they capture some of them, because they have all types of technology, and I'm sure they can make them freeze and or stun them, knock them to the ground where they can't move. Then they capture them. I'm thinking sci-fi now. I'm going sci-fi with it, but and then they just capture them and bring them to a planet and just drop them off. And they probably take them to any planet and drop them off. And they just, I don't want them here. I want them to take them somewhere else. It's just a theory. It's a theory.
It's a good theory, and I haven't heard it that way, but I'm like you, I don't study it real deep. And some people say, well, man, this interview kind of went off on a tangent, but I don't think so. I think that is just as possible as anything else because, and I tell people all the time, we can't even get a good picture of these things. I mean, nobody knows anything about them. And there's people who say, oh, heck, I'll live with them on my property for years. You don't know nothing. Well, they don't either.
Yeah.
They don't, it's not, if you can't even get a picture of one of these things, and there's been a couple, but 99 out of 100 are just blurry. And the 1% that, or the 1 out of 100 that'll have a little bit of detail to it, you still can't tell what it is. There's not much wildlife out there that you can't get a picture of: a possum, a squirrel, a raccoon, a deer, turkeys, whatever. And these things inhabit the woods just like the rest of the wildlife. So, if they're, here's my point. Since we don't know anything about them, and once again, I've said this before, any theory could be true. And so your theory is as valid as anyone else's, and it's interesting. I think I could sit and talk to you for 2 hours about it, and I wish we had time, but we don't. So do you have any other thoughts or stories that you could share with us? Anything from your childhood, or is this kind of a new thing for you?
Well, this is it's not really new because I think I was 10, and one of my cousins was like 11 and the other was like 14. We went to see a Bigfoot movie because we were just fascinated. I don't know how we became fascinated with Bigfoot ever since we were little, and we just did. And over the years, every now and then we would bring it up, but we've never had any type of encounter or hear any screams or wood knocks or anything like that, other than when I had told you about the South Carolina incident where I heard the wood knocking and the screams. But that's pretty much, I think, out of my other two cousins, I'm the only one who actually had experiences with the wood knocks and the screaming back in 2000.
And what, if you don't mind me asking, what age are you now?
I just turned 53 in April.
So here you are in your 50s, and now the movies you saw when you were a kid, it's actually happening to you. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. It is. But what's so strange about the whole thing is it's almost like ever since I heard the wood knocks and the screams back in 2000, I would think about this thing at least once a week. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to get this thing out of my head. I don't want to think about them. I don't want to talk about them. I'm trying to put them in the past. It's almost like they're part of me. And I've heard people say that. They say, well, they're part of me now once you hear one or once you hear the wood knocks. And I'm thinking, okay, way back in the swamps, 4 miles in the swamps, and you hear wood knocks, no man's going to be back here with a bat in 2 different locations within 5 seconds. At least I don't think that would be.
Okay, now this is another story. You say this happened in South Carolina?
Yes, at Francis Marion Forest. I was at the edge of it.
Well, is there much you can elaborate on with that story?
Oh yeah, I went hunting, hog hunting there as well, and a gentleman at our outfitter, he dropped me off. We had to drive back through there on the Argo because it was swampy. So he dropped me off, and I was the last hunter to get off the Argo, and I was like 4 miles in the swamps. And as soon as I seen the Argo leave, I heard like 3 wood knocks and a terrible scream that just raised the hair on the back of my neck. And then 5 seconds later, I want to say 500 yards to my left, the first scream came from behind me. And I don't know how far 500 yards. I don't know. And the second one was about 5 seconds later to my left, probably about 500 yards. The same 3 wood knocks and a terrible scream. And I was like, it was just one scream each. But I'm thinking, I just saw Monster Quest 2 days ago. And I'm thinking, I'm terrified. And I'm back here by myself and I'm terrified. And I'm thinking is something's going to come up here and challenge me in about 5 minutes. But I sat there I sat there till dark, and I've never seen anything. I never smelled anything, but I just knew that something was watching me the whole time. And I'm thinking, I hear people talk about hunters shooting hogs and the Bigfoot's rush in and get it. And I said to myself, okay, if they hear me shoot, they'll probably rush in and steal my pig. But they never heard me shoot. But I'm still thinking, Cameron, that these things was looking at me.
Man, I think you've got the Bigfoot mojo. I think you've got something that attracts them.
I don't know what it is, but I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Like, especially up close. But like I said, I did say I wanted to see him at a distance. I would like to see him. Just give me a spotting scope, and I could see him about a mile away. That'd be great.
Someplace preferably with an easy exit, real quick exit.
Exactly.
Well, that is all. This stuff just fascinates me, and I really appreciate you spending time with me and talking to us about it. I know everyone will enjoy it. But before we wind this up, John has a YouTube channel, and let me tell you a little bit about it. 5 or 6 years ago, I don't really know when it was, my son and I were looking at reviews on four-wheelers on YouTube, and we came across this video. What you did a review on a Suzuki, was that right?
Yes, my 700 King Quad.
And we watched that interview, and we strongly considered looking at Suzuki, but there wasn't a dealer anywhere close by us. And so John's videos kept, once you watch a video, that same channel's videos will pop up in your recommend feed. And I bet I've watched 36 of his videos, and he's got a great YouTube channel. It is not Bigfoot centered. It's centered around hunting and hunting advice, namely bow hunting and turkey hunting. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your channel, what the name of it is? I'll link it below in the description so you guys can go over and watch John's videos. But tell us a little bit about your channel, John.
Thank you. It's called the Iceman Series, and I've actually started that channel back in 2011. And in the beginning, I was just having fun and not realizing I was teaching while I was having fun as well. So basically, I post a video on how to set up your compound bow, how the best stance to use when you're in your tree stand or if you're on the ground, the easiest way to hold your trigger release when you're at full draw, just different methods on scouting. That's my main thing I like to do. I rather scout than hunt. I do mostly scouting anyway. How to set up your turkey gun, what choke to use, what shell to use, the best way to get your pattern the way you need it to be to shoot longer distances than 40. How to set up. I like to do this. I use my compound bow as a rifle theory, and I started doing that. I want to say 8 years ago. I thought about it because I started shooting one pin with my bow, and I had to figure out how to shoot from 0 to like 30 yards or 35 yards back then.
Yeah.
And then I've actually just was practicing with different weight arrows to meet that objective. And then once I figured out how to shoot from 0 to like 35 yards, I figured it out, and I was able to capitalize on harvesting more deer. And then I got to the point where I was shooting faster bows, and I had to quite naturally increase my arrow weight. And now I've taught myself how to shoot out from 0 to 40 with one pin, without having to elevate my slide on my sight. So I teach people how to do that. And not only that, I actually try to invite them to get to know Jesus Christ as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we talked about your denomination, and you said my denomination is the gospel. And I love that.
Jesus Christ.
I love that. You also, John, you have a website where you have a product line that you offer for people to buy. Can you give us the name of your, I'll link it below too, by the way, everyone. Tell us your website name and all the things that you want to tell us about that.
That's called the icemanseries.com. That's the website, the icemanseries.com. And I sell deer estrus, two different deer estrus, and one of them is like a young buck estrus. Well, not estrus, but a young buck urine. For that, I sell 6 different turkey calls. I sell grunt calls. What else? I think that's it for now. And I'm in the process of coming out with something else. But also, I leave tips on my website whenever I get around to it. I try to keep it fresh, or as fresh as I can be, or I try to keep it in link with the season. So if it's turkey season, I'll try to leave some type of tip, or if it's deer season, I'll use some type of leave a tip on deer season. But I tell guys, I said, if you really want to be successful harvesting a buck, myself, I've learned how to pattern a buck, like I said, 20 years ago. If I'm looking at one specific buck, I learned how to pattern that buck or bucks. Because every year I've been getting 2 mature bucks every year here in Georgia for the last 10 years. And I've actually scout about 45 days a year and only hunt about 6 to 10 days a year.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you this, judging by the videos of the deer that you're killing, man, you are on them. These big, huge rack deer. I mean, we don't have deer like that. We might in the Delta areas of Mississippi, but just in the highland areas, we just have small deer, 4, 6 point, sometimes an 8 point. All of them have atypical racks, and I just don't think we have the healthiest herd. But you told me you actually manage these places where you hunt the best you can, and so you're growing real healthy deer. Yes.
I let anything that's under 4 years old, I let walk, and I watch them. I watch them year in and year out. Quite nice if they stay on the property, because they do linger. There's definitely, we don't hunt high fence or low fence, so you can't control where they're going to go at, because especially a mature buck, he can have up to like a 7-mile radius in range of land that he travels. So my biggest thing is, if it's meant for me to get that buck, I'm gonna get him. That's my biggest thing. Because years ago, I used to worry about that, and I thought, you know what? If it's meant for me to get that buck, he's mine.
It's been so nice talking to you, and you're a great guest, man. Just wind you up and let you go. I can tell you're a pastor. You know how to talk.
Heck, I used to be shy. I used to be really shy.
Really?
Yeah. But let me add one thing before I go.
Yes, sir.
This is Genesis 7:23, where they're talking about the Nephilims are still here, and I'm not saying that, because anything's possible. Anything's possible. That after I read the scripture here, it says, "So he wiped away every living thing from the surface of the earth, including man, animals, creeping animals, and the flying creatures of the sky. They were all wiped off the earth. Only Noah and those with him in the ark survived." So basically they're saying everything that was here before the ark, or should I say, because the water has subsided, or should I say it rained 40 days and 40 nights, but the water stayed there for 150 days. And then the water started subsiding. But anyway, I guess that theory goes out the window about a Nephilim, because if everything died other than Noah and his family, then that means nothing else was here.
That's a very good point, because you can't pick and choose what you believe in the Bible, because what's there is what's there, right?
Exactly.
And so if the timetable's right, we're looking at a chronological. I know we don't throughout the whole Bible. The Bible jumps back and forth, but in Genesis it doesn't. I mean, it's chronological. So that, you're right. That kind of nixes the Nephilim argument. I agree with you. That's a very good point. I've never heard anybody make that point, but that's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean, because it says they were all wiped off the earth. They didn't say most of them. The key word is all. I'm thinking, okay, even if a Nephilim got up into some type of cave system, if that water is, I forgot how high they said it was, but it was covering the mountains. So if the water was covering the mountains, then any cave had to drown as well. anything that's under the ground. They've talked about some Bigfoots and the giants. They live in caves. I'm thinking, okay, if the water was covering the mountains, it had to go in a hole, because if you have a hole in your roof, if you got a missing nail, and when it rains, that water's gonna find that hole.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah, and when and Moses isn't gonna. He said that everything died except everything on the ark and Noah and his family. So, I believe everything was wiped off the face of the earth. I'm gonna take the Bible literally on that topic. I just
You
don't,
have to.
yeah. You can argue. People can argue, and I think there's room for instance, the creation story. The first few chapters of Genesis. The creation story. I don't know that it can't or cannot be proven that there aren't vast eras of time between day 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. A lot of people think it is actually 24-hour days, and that may or may not be true.
You can't. I mean, it's hard to tell because there wasn't no sin there,
Right?
Until the apple incident.
And see, so evolution could fit if that time span between day 1 and day 2, for example, they say some of these dinosaur bones are 60 million years old.
Right.
Who's to say that time period? Now, that may not be true, and I know there's a lot of people who don't, but here's the thing. Those are things we can speculate on because they're not key to our belief. In other words, They don't change or distort our view of the gospel. The gospel, the new covenant, is what it is, exactly what it is. And the Bible, going from the New Testament back, is the story of the Jewish people. That's what it is. It's a story.
Exactly.
And the whole Bible is about Jesus. The whole Bible from beginning to end is about Jesus. And, the story of the Jewish people is included, but the whole Old Testament is mainly centered around someone's coming. Someone's coming.
Yes.
Someone's coming.
Yes.
And so, and then we have the Gospels. He's here. And then we have the epistles, and we find out what was accomplished during all that time, and the instructions on the church and things like that. So, oh man, this has been so fascinating. Listen, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and have enjoyed talking to you.
Yes, same here.
Will you keep me posted on how things go over the next deer season and maybe next turkey season?
I sure will. And definitely, one thing I wanted to add, one of these days I'm going to invite you to come hunt with me.
Oh, man. Oh, that would be awesome. Unless you've got a big angry Bigfoot on your property.
Well, I tell you what, me and you, neither one of us go over there on that particular spot.
If you confirm that, I may have to double take on that, but no, I'm just kidding with you. I might come down. It might be interesting to hear one hollering back in there,
Oh my goodness. But I do have 3 other locations that I mainly bow hunt anyway. I don't even deer hunt anymore at the spot where I told you about this whole screaming, the roar. But the deer that you see, those are my spots where I go to my honey holes.
Well, you obviously have an ear for these things, and I was kidding about the Bigfoot mojo, but you may have, a lot of people say these things are attracted to, certain people, and they reveal themselves even in the most benign ways to specific people, and some people they don't. And I'm one of them that they don't. I don't know why, but well, listen, I'm going to wind this up. Thank you, John, again. You've been such a pleasant guest, and I really appreciate you. And guys, thanks for listening. And make sure to go check out John's the Iceman series YouTube channel and his website. If you guys are looking for some deer estrus or something to wipe on your boots when you walk in the woods or something, or hang a rag out when you're fixing to kill that big buck, he's got it. He's got the stuff. So check out his website. Is it the icemanseries.com, John? Is that right?
Yes, the icemanseries.com. And one other thing I want to add, I don't have anything to gain for popularity on this topic. That's just something I just decided to share, and it's for free. I'm not trying to gain any popularity. And some people might think I'm crazy. Some people say, hey, I believe you. But if you were there, you definitely would. You wouldn't be a skeptic. If you were there, you said, I don't know what that was, and I'm not telling everybody it was a Bigfoot. But when I saw those two trees snap back like that, that to me added another 50% of possibility onto that situation.
That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Well, listen, everybody, thank you very much for listening. We're going to wind this up, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.